Hello there. Welcome to the Umbrella Show with me, Dalila Hamza, here in Al Shifar Online TV. Now, today we have a different session. You might ask, we have a captain in the house. Not just a captain in football or something else, which is quite different. This is a captain who actually specializes in shipping. And remember that the topic today is going to be the shipping arena. As we know that COVID-19 has really struck us from different geographical sites, especially we've seen how recently in UK many countries have cut off in their transportation into the country because of COVID-19. Now, I would really request you, if you would really use mask and also sanitize, and also make sure that we maintain the social distance, if not for you, then for our family. I welcome you with open arms. This is Captain Talib Ibrahim Mohammed, who is well expert, and he also is the Navy, the Merchant Navy chairperson. And also he is involved in many curriculums, in many things which involve shipping industry. Thank you very much for coming, Talib.
Yeah.
How are you?
You're most welcome. I'm okay.
So the smiling part, today, are we going to sail to the Bermuda Triangle or something else?
We'll not really be sailing to the Bermuda Triangle, but we'll talk about a little bit of Bermuda Triangle because there are so many myths which have, the story is packaged more of a storytelling.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but the true fact that is there is some magnetic anomaly which now affects the compasses, and when your compass is affected, then your sense of direction is also affected. But with the technology, new technologies, we crossed there safely without any problems.
Wow.
The way it has been packaged.
That's just the tip of an iceberg. For more, let's continue our session. You can also send your comments or your views in our comment section below at Al Shifra Online TV Kenya, and definitely we will be really appreciating it, as today's topic being the shipping arena. What really happens, and what are the things that our youth, if you want to join inside the Maritime or the Navy, what are the things that you're supposed to be doing, and what are the things you need to do for our country and the whole world at large. Let's talk about the journey. How did you find yourself working for the Transafrican Maritime company?
First, let me start with the training, how the whole journey of training, so that people can get to know how the training starts. So Seafarers training is actually governed internationally by the International Convention on Standards of Training, Certification and Watchkeeping, which probably many people know it only as the STCW. So that is the STCW Convention, and that is what governs seafarers training globally. Okay. So what that convention does simply is that it harmonizes the standards of training across the whole world. So when we implement it in Kenya, it means that we are implementing at the minimum what is required to be implemented globally, and it is the same minimum that the United Kingdom applies. It is the same minimum that the US applies. It is the same minimum that Philippines applies, because we are all signatories to that. So we are obligated to, apply or implement those minimum requirements for the standards of training. So different countries have additional things they are doing, but they cannot be. We are not allowed to go below the minimums. Okay. Yeah. So that means that at the minimum, we are all equally trained around the world. So anyone training in Kenya is just as trained as any other person, because I'm also not a trainee of Kenya. I trained at the Maritime Academy in Egypt. That is the Arab Academy for Science, Technology and Maritime.
But why, Talib, did you go to Egypt and not here?
At that time, there was no training in Kenya, but now the training has started. So that is the first bit of it. We have a harmonized global training. So it's simply saying that that graduate who is coming out globally must have reached some certain standard. So the graduates are at the bare minimum having the same standard globally. Because one thing that many people do not quite get is that the shipping industry is the only true global employer.
Interesting.
Why do I say that, or what do we mean by that? Is that you will have a ship owned by, let's say, a European, someone from Norway. The ship is being managed by a company in Singapore, and the ship is plying between, let's say, United Arab Emirates and Kenya and South Africa. This is the area of trade, the eastern coast of Africa. So now let's count the countries. One, the owner is Norwegian. It is managed under Singapore, the second nationality, that's the second country. The ship itself must have nationality.
Okay.
That is the flag it normally flies at the end, you know, where we call the stern. The back part of the ship, there's normally a flag. Okay. That shows the
We'll definitely have to go with the travel. We'll go to sailing with you, actually.
That is the nationality of that flag. That is number 3. Okay. Then it is sailing along the eastern coast of Africa from the Gulf. So it means that it will take container from United Arab Emirates, probably Salalah. Sorry, not Salalah, Jebel Ali. Then it will probably take another bit of containers from Salalah, Oman, number 5. Those are 5 countries. Come to Kenya, 6th country. Oh. Go to Dar es Salaam, 7th.
7th country.
Go to Durban, 8.
Whoa.
And then go to China.
Hey, isn't that hectic?
So those are 10 countries involved. So now tell me, anything happens, which law of a country are you going to use?
Well, you should tell us.
That is why you have the global standards.
Okay.
Which each country are sent to, so we have a certain framework that we are doing. So if that one, now, we have people who are on board that ship. All right? You can have the captain is a Kenyan, you have the chief officer is Tanzanian, you have crew, like 6 nationalities of crew. Something happens. Or the qualification of that crew will be according to which country? That is why you have the international conventions. So it governs that. So the crew, all of them, are trained in a framework that is acceptable to the 8 countries that we have mentioned. Because once it comes to like Kenya, there's something we call port state control inspections to make sure that the ship is seaworthy and how it is managed and the ship itself. Okay. So that is why you have that STCW convention that now harmonizes and puts a framework that you know, is acceptable to all the 8 countries that we have so far mentioned, or 10 of them. So you have all the seafarers straight to the same standard. So that is from where now we start. Okay. So that's why I hold a certificate of competence from Egypt as an officer. Okay. But I can still work anywhere in this world. And the maritime world is a very small world.
It's a small.
It's a very small world.
But they say almost 75% is water.
Yes.
So how is it small?
Yes, our interaction makes it to be very small. We've, in a single ship, we've just seen that you can have 16 nationalities working together. We have not even counted the cargo.
Wow, okay.
The cargo could be owned by a British company being brought to Kenya.
So all the blend of
for Rwanda.
Okay.
For a Rwandese consignee or for a Ugandan consignee. So now we have, you know, the cargo owned by someone else being brought here, the ship by someone else and being brought to a consignee, someone else. And it has even been produced in a 3rd country.
All the mixed, but that's quite an adventure, Captain, right?
So that is why we have this global convention that harmonizes everything. Okay. Yeah, so that is why when it comes to matters training, it is very important. And it is very important to know that as your training is being accepted, we have a certain thing we call the white list.
White list.
Yes, so the white simply says that you accepted.
You accepted. Peace.
Yes. So Kenya is in the STCW whitelist, so our training is acknowledged worldwide.
All over the world.
Yeah. So when you train, you first train as a cadet. You train your pre-sea training according to the latest amendments to that convention, the 2010 Manila amendments. You train pre-sea training, then you go for your cadetship for a minimum of 12 months. Those 12 months are not counted as calendar months. You step on board the ship, we log that you have come.
Okay.
You step off the ship, we log that you have gone.
Okay.
So it is the actual period spent on the ship.
Oh.
That is what is counted as those 12 months. So you can accrue those 12 months in 36 months. That is 3 years.
3 years again?
Yeah, you can accrue those in 36 months.
Okay.
Very easily, if you're not keen with what you're doing.
If you're not keen. On top of that, I would like to know, what are the qualifications to be a captain? Maybe for our youth who wants to actually dive inside this kind of career.
Now, what we mostly, we have 3 streams of training as of now. So we have the purely technical training, and then we have academic training, which is also in 2 streams. So the purely technical training is that they start from, the lower level, then training bit by bit until when they reach. So in explaining the technical stream of training, is that the person will first do what we call the basic safety training course, which commonly the seafarers here know it as the STCW course. But the training of a captain is actually an STCW training. So what they do inside the STCW training is the basic safety training course. Then they start to go to sea. Then after, depending on the country, they will then come back after either 12 months or after 18 months or after 36 months to come and do a training which we call the ratings training. So the ratings training is both for the deck department, which is now where the people who actually drive the ship, and then the engine department, which is concerned with the engines and the rest. So we have 2 ratings. Then after that, the person goes back, continues to work, and mind you, at this time, the person is still working and earning.
Still working and earning?
Yes.
Do you want me to switch careers?
No. Then the person does something we call able seafarer training. So the first one that I mentioned, the rating, is actually a chapter in STCW convention talking on that training. It is for the deck guys, it is STCW code chapter 2/4.
Captain Talib, are we diving into constitution again, or something? No, you have your own constitution.
That is our own constitution.
Okay.
The STCW
are we going to amend that?
It is always amended. The last one was in 2010.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but it's not BBI.
Sure.
Yeah. So that is how the qualifications are termed. So it needs the seafarer also to know how is he being trained, or she, and how does he or she qualify, and what is the qualification. It's very important. That's why I specifically mentioned the STCW code 2/4, because that is a very key part even in his progression, in his career life. Right? Then the able seafarer. Then after the able seafarer, some maintain to that position, but some might advance now for the office of the watch, and then go to chief officer, mate, and then go now to captain. So now we have 2 things. We have the captain as a qualification.
Captain and
we have the captain as the master of the vessel.
Okay.
Yes, master by appointment, captain by appointment. Now, so when we go back, we find that you can have a captain but not serving as the captain of the ship. Either serving as the chief officer or serving on board that ship as a second officer.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm serving as a second officer.
As a second officer.
The one in charge of navigation. Yeah. And then you have also the same. We have a 3rd engineer, we have a 4th engineer, we have a 4th engineer, then 3rd engineer, then a second engineer, then a chief engineer.
Whoa. All
Yes.
those engineers having the same.
They are on that ship.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is a whole community by itself floating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a family by itself.
Wow.
When that thing is floating, it's a family by itself. So what are the opportunities that Kenyan youth have? The opportunities that the Kenyan youth have is with proper training, you are not restrained to working in Kenya alone.
Okay.
You can work on ships which are not even sailing in Kenya. Like for example, we have now the MSC cruises. They recruited some people from Kenya. Yes. They normally then join their ship by flight because the ships do not even come here.
Whoa.
The closest is South Africa.
Did you hear that? Okay.
Yeah, the closest is South Africa. So that is, in a summary, that is what we have
Okay.
when it comes to seafarer qualifications. And then no one gives that qualification except the maritime administration of that country.
Okay.
Yeah, so neither can in Kenya we have Bandari Maritime Academy, training people. We have Technical University of Mombasa. We have Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. But the final certification, which is the certificate of competence and the certificate of proficiency, is not given by those universities. It's given only by the Kenya Maritime Authority.
So you have to go back there.
So after you finish your training, then you get
training.
all the requirements. You go to the Kenya Maritime Authority, and then the Kenya Maritime Authority now gives you the authority to be on board a ship.
Sure
And
thing.
it is, you know, a government authority. It's a government guarantee to the other government that my people that I have certificated, I guarantee that they have
They're
been trained in
qualified.
accordance with the STCW convention, and it is explicitly written in the certificates. All right, that this person has been trained and qualified in accordance with the STCW convention 1978 as amended for this position. So the person goes on board. Now, coming to the part that you asked about the Transafrica Maritime Consultancy Group. So Transafrica Maritime Consultancy Group is actually a brainchild of my friend who is also a captain, Captain Suleiman Bakari. And we came up to try and figure out the commercial aspect of maritime. Because in Kenya, we are dealing with only one side. The ships coming in and going out.
Okay.
But there's more when it comes to the blue economy, just for the ships coming in and going out of Mombasa. We have the pleasure industry. So the pleasure industry are those small boats that you see around the yacht.
We use them. We go from one point to another to enjoy our holidays, like
yes,
right now.
The yacht. You have the British, you say the yacht.
Yeah.
Yeah, commonly we say the yacht. The yacht industry is still untapped because we have people who have money. So
there are people who have money,
who
actually.
have money. So instead of increasing the fleet of cars, like a top range of the car costing 30 million, the same 30 million I can bring to that person with 25 million, a yacht. That yacht will not employ one driver. It will employ a skipper, it will employ a deckhand, and it will employ someone, a steward or a cook. 3. So we'll be creating employment to 3 people instead of a V8, which is creating employment for one person.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a consultancy company based here. And we do some consultancy for the maritime pleasure industry, from procuring a vessel to managing that from one end to the other.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are other services that you guys do?
The other services are the technical services, that is marine survey and vessel appraisal. Like, for example, from here, I'll be going to complete an appraisal for an arrested ship, which is now going to be on judicial cell
Whoa, okay. You have part of the judicial part as well in that.
Yes, to recover money to pay the crew and pay judicial dues and pay port dues.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is look at the ship, do a condition survey, and then
Are you going
value.
alone, or do you have other people joining you in doing the work and surveying?
In surveying, yeah, I have an attending surveyor also with me. We're two, me and Captain Suleiman. So we just do it, do the evaluation, send it to the Admiralty Court Marshal, and then from there they pick it up for a judicial sale.
Okay.
So that is the nice and legal term for auction.
Auction, okay.
Yeah.
That's a nice one. If you tune in, this is the Umbrella Show with me, Dalila Hamza. In the studio today, we have a captain. Not talking about soccer, anything kind of thing. Today is the captain who will elaborate us more what really happens in the shipping arena. What are the things that you're supposed to know as a youth in order, if you want to base yourself in that kind of career, those kind of things you should be considering doing. Let's continue, Talib. As we move on, let's talk about how COVID-19 has hit you guys. How has it hit you? Especially now we have the second wave, which is affecting the country and the entire world. And we also have another one, like the incident of UK. So how are you guys coping up?
COVID, unfortunately, has affected everyone in one way or another. But I think the most resilient industry, apart from the medical service industry, has been the shipping industry. So in fact, the backbone of managing COVID is the shipping industry, because it was the last man standing when it came to supplies and logistics.
Yeah.
Because as much as there was COVID, goods were being still transported from one point to another. So one of the things that happened during that time is that we had a very serious issue of crew replacement.
Okay.
Yes. And the Maritime Labour Convention of 2006 stipulates the framework for engaging seafarers. And the framework for engaging seafarers determines for the different cadres how long should you be on board. So mostly it is between six months for officers and 9 months for ratings for non-officers maximum. So you find that there are some people some crew who are supposed to have signed off from the ship in a certain port towards the end of their contract, but on reaching that port, the country has restricted movement. So there's no planes in and out of the country. So the person has to continue working.
Okay.
So another problem arises. Will the employer, owner, or the ship owner honor in the absence of a valid running contract, renew the contract, or continue paying their wages based on the old contract? So some managed to handle the matter, but there are very many seafarers who were working actually for no pay on board. So they are simply imprisoned on board ships.
Oh.
Yeah. And the other thing that happened is even if they continue to pay the wages, we have matters of fatigue. Yeah. So fatigue could lead to depression, could lead to suicidal thoughts, and could lead to actual suicide on board. And reports have actually confirmed that there have been cases of suicide.
Suicide. So how do you manage those kinds of things?
So now with that one we have what we call mental health awareness.
Inside the ship?
Yes, we have mental health awareness, which something it has been championed for quite a long time, and it was very prominent last year in the STCW subcommittee meeting at the International Maritime Organization. So the mental health awareness is being championed, and is something which it was a bit overlooked in the shipping industry, especially when I talk about the shipping industry, I mean seafarers on board, not the wider peripheral shipping industry. So it was actually a little bit overlooked, but now there is a great concern on seafarers' mental health awareness, and the seafarers themselves are being taken through that, the trainings, the awareness for mental health. And one thing that COVID actually showed is the resilience of the shipping industry when it comes to pandemic, when it comes to disaster. Practically everywhere else stopped, but the shipping industry was still running.
To still go on.
Yes. And with that, that is how we are able also to handle and deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. Because as much as everything was coming to a screeching halt, the shipping industry was still very instrumental in making sure that supplies and replenishment to countries which are net importers, there was that continuous supply. So you could even see in Mombasa, ships coming in and out. But that could not happen without some proper COVID-19 protocols were put in place. Coming from the International Maritime Organization, the protocols were activated. Each country activated its own protocols, and the same were communicated to the International Maritime Organization. And even some countries went to the extent that the pilot going to board the ship to bring it into the port was in full PPE.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I can just imagine that.
So with everything, so that there is a very minimal and bare contact between the pilot and the crew.
Okay.
So I know some people might be asking, pilot? We know the pilot for the airline.
Yeah, only in the airplane.
Yes. So now international regulations put that when you come with your ship, as the captain, you cannot really sail into the port. So there's someone who knows that area very well and has been trained, who now comes and then boards that
takes over.
ship, does not take over, advises the captain on how to maneuver the vessel until when the vessel is alongside at the dock, at the berth. So once that is completed, now that is what we call pilotage. So a pilot is a job appointment, but not a qualification. The pilot has to be qualified as a captain so that the person can be appointed as a pilot.
As a pilot.
Yeah.
We've learned quite something new there. And on top of that, I'd like to know, Talib, what are the preparations before docking or taking off simply with your journey?
One thing that we do is, as of now, there is a lot of paperwork. You need to communicate with the port to tell them that you are ready. So first, let us understand it from when you're coming in.
Okay.
So when you're coming in, then the master issues a notice of readiness. So it simply outlines that I am here, I am ready to come in and then discharge the cargo. So once that is done, the master issues the notice of readiness. Then it is communicated to the port. Then the port allocates a berth. That is a space where it will come and park. And then offload
it's a
the
berth
cargo.
now. That's another terminology.
Yes, BERTH.
Okay.
So in marine phonetics, we'll say Bravo Echo Romeo Tango Hotel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's where the ship comes to park. So then in normal communication, how we do it is that the ship will come, communicate, and then they'll communicate through the VHF. So even if it's 2 days out, you still communicate and you'll be heard. So then the ports normally have their own VHF channels. So Mombasa is channel 12 and 10. You communicate with the Mombasa on that. And then we have channel 16, which is emergency. All ships around the world will be having a VHF station on channel 16 for emergency. So they will call on channel 16 when they're very far, and probably when they're quite near, change to channel 12, all right? Then they'll be given the go ahead. So from there, the go ahead, the process now starts. Allocated berth will be declared, they will be told. They'll be told the time of pilot boarding. They will not be told the pilot who is boarding, but they'll be told the time of pilot boarding. Name and name of the pilot, they will not be told, but there will always be a pilot who will board.
Why is that?
There will always be a pilot who will board.
Why is that? Why is that the name is not actually given out?
No, because it's the person who is coming to board is not the person in person, but it's the person in designation.
Okay.
So they will be told pilot will be boarding at, let's say, 1500 hours. That is 3 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah, we use 24-hour system. At 1500 hours, approach to 3 miles of buoy number 1. Come until, so when you're at Mamangina, you will see that there are some green and blue things floating on water.
Yeah.
Those are the buoys.
Okay.
Yes, and at night they give light.
Light, yeah.
And if you notice, you take keen interest, the nights are they're flashing differently at different sequence.
And also the colors.
Yes, so that you can be able to identify this is a green buoy and its number, because you'll be looking at it at the chart.
You also look at the number. It has a number.
It has a number. It's numbered.
Okay.
Yeah. So then the pilot will now take the pilot boat, then go out, board the ship, then bring in the ship. So once it brings in the ship, then we have another process which is called the mooring or the berthing process.
Okay.
Yes. So that mooring process is now where we take those ropes, very big ones.
Yeah, I've seen them, especially in ferry also, they kind of have them
Those
there.
very big ropes, then we secure them on some things which are on land on the other side. We secure them on the bollards.
Okay.
So those big ropes are the ones which we call the mooring lines.
But they're quite heavy. How do you
They're
pull
quite
them?
heavy. Yeah. So those are the mooring lines. So those are the ones which hold the ship alongside.
Okay.
So now we have entered, there's a process which is called practique, whereby they will go through the health clearances and the rest and all those processes until now they can start discharging cargo of whatever kind. So once they're going to finish, they will report back that we are expected to finish and our estimated time of departure is at this time. So the pilot will be on shift at that time. We'll prepare now to take them out and then they go. So we use estimated time of arrival and estimated time of departure. That is estimated time of arrival ETA and estimated time of departure ETD. And once we are alongside, you have finished the journey. So now you actually log the actual time of arrival.
Wow. Approximately how much time is that?
No, it depends on where you're going. For example, I can say that my estimated time of arrival to Mombasa, that means the anchorage, is 15:30 hours on 28th December 2020. That is the zone time here. So I can arrive earlier than 15:30. I can arrive later than 15:30, and there's no any obligation. Because it's estimated time of arrival.
It's estimated, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not exact.
Yeah. So once I reach, now I can log the actual time of arrival.
Okay, Captain.
Which can be before or after the estimated time of arrival.
And there'll be no problem.
And no problem. We are happy lot.
I'm having a good time here inside the studio. I hope you two are enjoying this session as well. And remember that to also send your comments in our section below and questions for us to answer you. And most definitely, Captain Talib over here has a 10-year decade experience in the field. What is the risking time in sailing, Captain?
There is no risky time. We always take everything the way they come. But what we normally take into consideration is storms.
Storms, yeah.
Yes. So in our area here, what we normally have are the tropical revolving storms, which also cyclones and tornadoes and hurricanes are tropical revolving storms. So that is most concern, the meteorological aspect.
Okay.
So the tropical revolving storms, and it is actually one of the things that we study quite extensively. We do meteorology, the study of weather.
I'm sure you, Captain here would definitely, will you take us through as Al-Shifa there? We'll see what's really going on in a real ship now.
Yeah, we could have some time, but not on a big ship, probably on a boat.
Sure thing.
Yeah, but not on a very rough day.
Okay, that might get nasty.
Yes, the seasickness and stuff for people who have never been on board. So the risk and hazard is normally when it comes to storm.
Storms,
because it affects the crew, it affects the ship, it affects the cargo. So one of the things is that when you're sailing from a hot area to a cold area, you can easily destroy cargo if you don't do proper ventilation. Because sailing from an area which is humid, and then when you reach an area which is cold, definitely we know the simple physics that water will condense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So normally we have ventilation. We try to regulate the temperatures and the moisture and stuff so that the cargo doesn't get affected. When we enter into a storm, we could easily lose the ship, and in the process we can also lose people. Yeah, so that is our major concern. And even when we're doing something we call voyage planning, so what we do is moving, for example, I'm leaving Mombasa, going to Madagascar at a time when the weather is not good. So I will do in the voyage planning something which we call is, taking consideration for weather. Yeah, so I'll add probably 2 days for weather, because the weather can be bad and I have to reduce the speed of the ship. So once I reduce the speed of the ship, it means that the same distance will be covered over a longer time with a slower speed. So that is what we do.
Okay.
Yeah. So by the time a captain is given command of a ship, he is a weatherman, because he has done weather extensively. He has done medical to the degree of a paramedic. Medical training. He has done quite a lot of law.
Law? So the Simpson captain knows law?
Yes.
So we have a law in a ship?
It's just that he's not an acknowledged lawyer. But while sailing, I can tell you that we deal with around 23 international laws when we are sailing.
Okay.
I'll count from you from here. Sailing here to let's say Dubai, sailing to Jabal Ali. There is laws, international laws concerning cargo that I am carrying, and there are a number of them. They have to comply with laws concerning training of seafarers, the STCW convention. I have to comply with laws regarding pollution, which is a number of them. The most conspicuous one is the MAPOL, the Marine Pollution Law. I have to comply with laws coming from the port of departure, Kenya, and I have to comply with the laws to the port I'm going with, and I have to comply with the United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea, determining my conduct, how I am sailing.
You're a total lawyer. Okay.
So once the person is assuming command, the guy actually has, he's a lawyer.
He's a lawyer, but yeah. Okay.
So the training is not just, it needs work, it needs dedication, it needs time to reach the apex of the maritime career.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Talib, tell us the kinds of projects which you're doing to also involve the youth, which you're planning. It's on the progress, you're doing them.
Yeah. So currently in Kenya we have the Association of Merchant Navy Officers. That is us. We are distinct from the Navy officers. So, or we can easily say Merchant Marine Officers. If the Navy brings a little bit of confusion. So we have the association. It is called the Association of Maritime Practitioners Kenya, AMPK. And what we have done is that we have technical committees that are dealing with specific issues. So the current president of the association is Captain Suleiman Bakari. I'm the head of secretariat and secretary, and I'm the chairperson of the technical committee on maritime education and training. So that is where now we package all the activities regarding addressing matters concerning the youth in terms of their aspirations to go to sea and their aspirations to become seafarers. So that currently I'm directly in charge and coordinating youth affairs under the student member forum. We also have a completely and a fully constituted student member council.
Okay.
And it is being headed by a deck cadet, a nautical cadet. He's called Luther Mwatete. And the secretary is James Mwendwa. And we also have a committee member discussing issues, representing issues regarding women in maritime. And even in the main body, the main council, we have also a committee, executive committee member representing issues regarding women in maritime. So we are all encompassing, and I believe that one would also take a whole session on itself to talk about the association and what we are trying to do regarding the youth. What I would say to the youth is that there is quite good opportunities for employment, and once you are qualified, you are not qualified to work in Kenya only, but you're qualified to work world over.
That calls for adventure.
Yes, we are qualified to work world over. I've been qualified from Egypt. I'm a Kenyan, and I worked on ships which are not even related to Kenya.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I want to dive in this matter, like in case of emergency. Have you ever faced something like piracy before? And also, I want you to touch on, have you sailed through the so-called Bermuda Triangle, the Devil's Triangle, or what kind of technology which you're using in that?
Sailing across the Bermuda Triangle, I've not sailed across the Bermuda Triangle, but we know the whole concept about the Devil's Triangle and the rest. So the fact that there is a magnetic anomaly around that area, but nowadays we don't only have a magnetic compass on board, but we have something which call a gyro compass. So the gyro compass is actually operated through electricity. So the only thing that affects it is lack of electricity.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's totally safe passing through there? It's
totally safe. It's not affected by any abnormalities of the magnetism of the Earth.
I almost had a sigh of relief from my cameraman, Tito Spencer. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever faced piracy before?
Piracy, fortunately, no.
In case of that, what happened?
Yes, so in case of piracy, we also have a number of protocols in place when you are going to pass through piracy-prone areas. So one of the things that the recommendations and guidelines which are in place is that when you're going to pass through piracy areas, you are allowed to have armed guards on board.
Oh.
Yeah.
So from a lawyer to a soldier,
yeah, so
you have so many things you do, guys.
Yeah, you need to have armed guards, and mostly nowadays, the retired guys from the navies and the disciplined forces are the ones who are being used. So their work is just to be on board and try to deter any piracy activities. And then we use wire mesh and the rest. We kind of secure the ship, and there is a specific training for that, anti-piracy training. Yeah. Because on board we have practically very many things to use when pirates try to board. We have the fire pumps to use, and it gives out water at very high pressures.
Okay, well, your own water.
Yes. Si tunavuta hiyo maji hapo habari.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what so there are a number of guidelines which the viewers can also look for. Piracy, anti-piracy guidelines, there are a number of guidelines which are there, which is the same way we just secure our homes. So we also secure. And then also the International Maritime Organization through member states also give guidelines. For example, the recommended route for Kenya was pushed into the sea by 200 miles from Mombasa going to the Middle East.
Okay.
So it was passing very close to Somalia waters. So among the recommendations that was given by Kenya is that the recommended route was pushed further inside the deep sea by around 200 miles.
Wow.
So we have charts also, the navigation charts. Those information are also available on the chart. Yeah.
So how do you manage like to balance between work and family in considering that you go for many months on board while in ship?
One of the things is that now the other person, the spouse, will have to accept the reality.
Be
of
very
that.
patient about it.
Yes, be very, very patient, and we do thank them a lot for being very patient when you're out at sea. It's hard, but it's manageable. It only needs focus.
Sure thing.
Yeah, but people handle it differently because all of us have different psychological, composition. Some people reach to a point they completely break down and they can no longer go to sea, and some people still have that extra fuel to continue going.
Yeah, sure thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
As we wind up our session here today with Captain Talib Ibrahim Mohammed, tell us your last remarks to all of you out there.
My last remark is the blue economy is not just about fisheries, it's not just about ships going in and out of Mombasa. There's so many activities that can be done. For example, there can be coastal trade that instead of having to go overland every now and then to Lamu, we can be having small ships, coastal ferries from Mombasa to Lamu. That is one source of income. It is a source of employment. Then there is the pleasure, the marine pleasure industry, which has not been, exploited seriously in Kenya, and that can play a great role in enhancing tourism, because our tourism is dependent on the national parks and the sandy beaches that we're having.
The beautiful beaches.
Yes. So what we can do is that we can even repackage again, is that when you come here, you can also have some marine cruise from, from Shimoni going to Lamu and back. So all those activities, water-based marine tourism activities can also go in a large way to improve and enhance sustainability of the economy. For the youth, in terms of training, the training offers unique qualification. And among the unique qualifications is, being a captain and being a chief engineer. Very unique qualification in Kenya and also around the world. And they are very much highly regarded. And so it needs to know the proper training, perseverance, and it takes time to reach the apex and be given a command of a ship. But when you put your heart and mind set at getting to that position, you will get. So for them to get proper information, they should not listen to hearsay. They should go to Bandari Maritime Academy, go to Technical University of Mombasa, go to Jomo Kenyatta. The coastal youth here, the easiest way out is Bandari and Tum. And they get the proper information on how to be trained.
Thank you very much for coming, Captain. I guess we'll have quite a journey in sailing with you next time. Hope we get that chance too. I'm excited because it's most adventure. Hope you had a wonderful and lovely time with us here in the studio. I'd like to thank you for staying up to this session. We come to an end, and my name is Dalila Hamza, and this is the Umbrella Show. Many gratitudes to you as we meet next time.